What are you doing that for? There's one thing that seems to be a constant, at least in my blacksmithing journey, and that is that things are always changing, always evolving. And being the sharp blacksmith that you are, you often notice these changes and you have questions like, what are you doing that for? So today I thought I would answer the question on why am I back to the Chile Forge instead of the ribbon burner forge, and what does that really mean, because that's a sign of a much bigger change or perhaps a regression and going backwards a little bit. Now, one of the downsides to working primarily in a gas forge is that the sizes are kind of limited, and depending on the work you're doing, you may want more than one gas forge. And I have tried different gas forges throughout the year and have always been really impressed with the products from Chile Forge. But people kept saying, I would love a ribbon burner forge. There are big advantages to a ribbon burner forge, and I should really build one. I thought I was going to build one, never got around to it, so I bought one from Dark Star Forges. That was an outstanding ribbon burner forge, and it was really good for big production work. But it was a big forge, took up a lot of space in the shop. And as I add more equipment and do different things, sometimes getting that little bit of space back can make a big difference. But what are the advantages of a ribbon burner forge, or the supposed advantages of a ribbon burner forge? Number one, they're supposed to be way more fuel efficient. Well, personally, I never noticed any change in how much propane I was buying. That's not an accurate scientific test of the fuel efficiency of a ribbon burner forge. I spend less time one year running a gas forge than I might on another year, so it's really hard to compare apples to apples how much fuel that forge consumed on a daily basis compared to the Chile Forge. But as far as what I was paying for propane for the time that I used that, it was within a few dollars of the same, and of course the price of propane fluctuates too. The other thing to keep in mind is that was a larger firebox than what this forge. It was much bigger, thinking I was going to do more big production work in it, which I never really did. So I was heating up a much larger chamber that I didn't need to. So that also accounts for not being as fuel efficient as one might be with this exact same size firebox. Another supposed plus for ribbon burner forges is they're supposed to be quieter. Well, with a decibel meter, I could tell that one was 1 or 2 decibels quieter than what the Chile Forge is. Not a big noticeable difference, but to my ear, I thought it was louder. It's just a different pitch because of the fan and the air movement. And I actually found it a little bit more annoying to be around than I do the Chile Forge, even though supposedly it's just slightly more. This one runs at about 83 decibels when I've got both burners running at a fairly high pressure. If I turn the pressure down, well, on either forge, if you turn everything down, the decibel level goes down with it. So again, not a real big improvement going to the ribbon burner forge. It's all kind of an even trade-off with that in mind. The final benefit to a ribbon burner forge that people told me I'd experience is less dragon's breath. That's the flame that comes out of the forge and makes it really uncomfortable to work real close to the forge. You got to wear gloves, sometimes long sleeves, because there is so much heat coming out of the forge. You can't get close enough, even with a pair of tongs sometimes, to get your work back out. And there again, I didn't notice a big difference. If anything, I think there was more flame front coming out of that forge. And when I was working over here at the vise, it was really uncomfortable if my back was to the forge. If I worked on that side, it's not so bad, but I'm frequently working on this side, and it was really uncomfortable with that great big forge. Again, bigger forge, more heat, more fuel, so that's not an apples to apples comparison. But for my work in my shop, that forge was not living up to any of the supposed claims of a ribbon burner forge. That ribbon burner forge is a hard brick liner, so it's really durable, really puts up with the abuse you give it in production work, but it also takes a lot longer for that forge to heat up, so I'd have to start it earlier in the day, put more heat into the shop, which in the winter was nice, but in the summer it's absolutely miserable, and leave it running to get that liner up to heat. This forge heats much faster. It's got a hard floor, but it's got ceramic wool around the chamber that is treated with a refractory to keep that safe. and this heats up a lot faster. But again, it's also a smaller chamber. And that also means that I was less inclined to cycle that forge on and off. If I'm doing something and I need to take a half an hour, 45 minutes to prepare more materials, to do a little grinding, drill holes, that kind of stuff, but I was coming back to the forge, I'd leave the ribbon burner forge going because it did take so long to heat up. So that's something else that contributes to using more gas than it might otherwise. Whereas this one heats up fast enough that I don't have to light it quite as early in the day, and I don't have to leave it running unless I'm continuously working in it. Which also brings up another point. I like the audio quality in the videos that I'm doing if I turn the gas forge off while I'm at the anvil. I think it just makes for a more pleasant video. And the ribbon burner forge just wasn't really suited to that. You gotta turn on the blower, you gotta open the damper for the blower to get air into the forge. You then have to open the gas valve, light the forge, adjust the flame, adjust the damper, and do all of that stuff when you light it to really manage it properly. This forge doesn't have all the blower and the damper issues. And while I should close the chokes every time I shut it off, when we're doing a video, I usually come over to get the piece of work, turn the gas off, take the work to the anvil, do the heat, put it back in the forge, and open the valves. I don't always close the choke. So yes, I'm not following the best procedure with this forge, and I accept that I'm going to wear it out a little bit faster and that the burners may not last as long because of the chimney effect coming up the burners. But if it makes the videos better, I think that's a fair trade-off. So there are reasons that I like the Chile Forge better, even if technically the ribbon burner forge may have some of those other advantages. This just suits my work and what I'm doing in the shop better, and it takes up less space. Less space is going to be important here at Black Bear Forge, hopefully in the next couple of months. Now, those of you that have been watching for a while, or if you're watching some of the older videos, you may remember there being a coal forge in this location for quite some time. It was really a fixture here in the shop. In fact, the chimney is still there. All I got to do is reconnect a forge to it, and I'd be able to put a coal forge back in here. But I took that forge out because I was doing more production work, and I accept that I work at a gas forge, at least at that time, probably 90% of the time. The induction forge was fairly new in the shop, and I was just getting to know it. And I was finding that I was having to swap places with the gas forge and the induction forge every time I wanted to use this because I just didn't have room for both of those forges and the coal forge. The coal forge was only being used 1 or 2%, and then mostly just for videos because it really looks good in the videos. Since then, the coal forge has moved to what used to be a storage shed over on the other side of the shop, and that now has been turned into a small shop with a coal forge. A single burner Chile Forge now lives in there, and it's got a nice anvil, it's got a vise, and that is a fully functional but fairly basic shop. And we've been making some videos over there. In fact, later this summer we're going to make a lot more videos over there because a coal forge is coming back to this shop. It's going to be different though. It's not that coal forge coming back in here. I'm trying to maintain exactly what I have in this setup, with this space here being big enough for a functional coal forge. So that's the big change. The Chile Forge just allows me the space. With the ribbon burner forge, there isn't enough room in here. The plumbing for the blower just takes up enough more space. I'll have to turn this around and put the propane hoses on the other side. But I'll also be able to move these things in and out as necessary if they're in the way using the coal forge. Now, why go back to a coal forge in here if I don't use it that much? That has to do with a change in my philosophy of work that I'm doing. I'm trying to do higher end work, more ornamental or artistic work, things that involve more forge welds, unusual shapes, learning to do more scrolls, things like that. And some of those things don't work real well in either a gas forge or the induction forge. Love the induction forge for small forge welds, and I love the gas forge for big forge welds like forging axes, or if we ever do pattern welded steel, which I'm kind of thinking about. All work well in a gas forge, but doing unusual shape welds, corner welds, branch welds, things like that are better done in coal. And I say coal, coke, charcoal, all of those are acceptable fuels. You don't have to be limited to actual coal. So what I've done here is I've mocked up what kind of space I think I can afford. I can still get around that side. Nothing changes on that side of this post. That all remains the same. And there's still enough room for me to move around and go back through this way if I need to come over for the torch, or go open the door, or go over to the welding bench through here. I don't generally have to go around the anvil the long way. So this is the space I have to work with. And my plan is to build one big hearth that this can sit on one end of, this can sit on the other end of, the fire pot will be in the middle, and instead of a side draft hood on the side, which is now where the gas forge is sitting, I'm going to push it back a little bit, take out a little bit of that walkway in the back, put a side draft hood or a super sucker style hood in the back, and I'll have to put a couple of 45s in to go up to where the chimney is. And I think that's all going to work out well, but I'm going to complicate it more than that because I have always liked the look of brick and stone forges. So I'm going to make this kind of a hybrid between a fabricated forge with a metal chimney pipe, because I've already got metal chimney pipe in place, and a stone forge. I'm going to collect stones from around here locally and hopefully make something that is the centerpiece of the shop, something that really helps inspire creativity in the shop, even if it isn't strictly necessary. It's becoming more and more important that when I come to the shop, I am inspired simply by walking through the door, that it isn't just an industrial space, but it's an artistic and a creative space. So that's my plan, and I'm hoping that in the next couple of weeks, I'll start moving this back out to make room for that build. I'm going to have to take up some floor, pour a concrete pad for everything to sit on so that the stonework doesn't shift and move. I'll probably build a skeleton frame for a forge, so I know where the fire pot is, have a consistent table height, all of that kind of stuff, and then build the stonework around that. So it's going to be kind of odd. It's not going to be strictly a fabricated forge, but if you're a stonemason, you're probably going to consider that to be a cheating way to do it. But I think in the long run, it's going to give me the most reliable results to get exactly what I'm looking for. So if you've been wondering what in the world that crazy guy over at Black Bear Forge is up to with the swapping forges around, that pretty much sums it up. We're going to look at building the new forge as we move forward a little bit. I'm not going to do a great big series on it. We'll do 1 or 2 videos or just show a little progress. Most of the forging videos will move over to the little shop in the meantime, so we're going to be spending a lot more time over there in both the coal forge and the gas forge. If you stick around this weekend, we're actually building another coal forge that I can use outside. It doesn't belong in either shop. It's just a whole separate thing. And I think that will be an interesting video because it isn't a very advanced build. It's very basic. As always, I want to thank each and every one of you for stopping by to watch the videos, with a special shout out to my channel members and my Patreon patrons. Channel members receive early access to the videos, and Patreon patrons at certain levels receive not only early access, but they receive the videos ad-free. So if you're tired of the annoying ads on the videos, you might want to check out Patreon. In the meantime, I hope you have time in your day to get into your shop, make something, have fun, stay safe, wear your safety glasses. We'll see you for the next video.